I hope everyone had a wonderful Purim last week. Good to be back with you. I want to talk about the second set of Luchot. The first set of tablets were smashed by Moshe Rabbeinu when he came down from the mountain. When he saw the Egel Hazav built by the Jewish people, the golden calf, he threw the tablets down. And so God commanded him, Vayomer Hashem Moshe, the beginning of chapter 34 of Sefer Shemot, Psolacha shnei luchot avanim karishonim. Carve two stones, two tablets of stone like the first. V'chatavti al haluchot et hadvarim asher hayu al haluchot harishonim asher shibarta. And I will inscribe upon those second set of tablets the words that were on the first set of tablets, which you shattered. And he tells Moshe, V'heyei nachon laboker, be ready by morning. Tomorrow morning, we have a meeting. V'alita v'avoker al Har Sinai, you will come up to Har Sinai, to the top of Har Sinai. V'nitzavta li sham al rosh hahar, and you'll stand before me on the top of the mountain. V'ish lo ya'aleh imach, no one else shall come with you up the mountain. V'gam ish al yera b'chol hahar, and no one else shall be seen anywhere on the mountain. Gam hatzon v'habakar al yiru, the flock nor the herd shall graze el mul hahar hahu, at the foot of that mountain. It's just going to be you and me, Moshe. Not even the animals are allowed to come anywhere near the base of the mountain. And the Midrash Tanchuma builds upon these verses. Now, the Midrash that I want to study with you opens with a whole long piece about how this, about the calendar really. What's the timing of all of this? When did Moshe break the tablets? Oh, well, we know there's a tradition that was on the 17th of Tammuz. When did he come down with the second set of tablets from Har Sinai? It was on Yom Kippur. That Midrash, which goes through that, is actually here, and I encourage you to take a look at it. I included it on the source sheet, so please avail yourself. The English is there as well, if you need to use that to read through. I want to begin where it's with Bet, part 2 of this Midrash, which is much shorter, and really gets to this part about Psolacha v'heyei nachon laboker, make these stones ready, and, in the morning, we have a meeting. Kach barishona. Look, the same thing happened, by the way, in the first set of tablets. When did the first set of Luchot, when did that whole experience begin? It began in the morning. The Midrash says, Kach barishona. This also, by the first set, Vayehi vayom hashlishi beyot haboker v'chulei v'chulei. And on the third day, in the morning, that's when the Jewish people were supposed to meet God at Har Sinai, and God was going to then present to them the Torah. V'kan, and here, in the second set of Luchot, V'gam ish al yera. There's a little bit of a difference. Second set, no one's going to experience this except for Moshe. Haluchot rishonot al shenitnu befumbe lefichach shalta bahem ayin hara v'nishtabru. The difference that the Midrash picks up on, there's such a striking image here. No one shall come up the mountain. It's supposed to be this silent moment. Pristine, not another person or an animal nearby. Is such a stark contrast to the first set of Luchot. The first set were given with pomp and circumstance, with great fanfare. They were given right there in public, God himself, in front of everybody. And therefore, we're told by the Midrash, what happened? The evil eye, literally the Ayin Hara, overtook the Luchot that were given in such an open fashion. And this is the reason, the Midrash says, why it was broken It was broken because they were given with such great fanfare. V'kan, and by the second set of Luchot, Amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ein lecha yafeh min hatzniut. There is nothing better than doing this with privacy, than humility, and with quiet. With quiet, that's what we need here. Shinamar, Uma Hashem daresh mimcha, ki imasot mishpat v'ahavat chesed v'atznei alechet. The Midrash closes by using the verse from the 6th chapter of Micha. That what does God require of us, of you? Only to do justly and to love mercy, to do justly, right? To love mercy and to walk humbly with God. This is an interesting midrash. It brings up a big question, which I don't really have a good answer to, though I'm curious if you do. Feel free to email me, which is, if God knew the first set was going to be a disaster because of its being given in public, why did God give it in public? Why did he make lightning and thunder and all of the smoke happen? Why didn't he just from the beginning have Moshe Rabbeinu go up quietly and get the Luchot, get the Torah? I don't have a good answer to that question, but I want to acknowledge to you who are listening that it is an excellent question that one can ask on this midrash, but I don't have a great answer. And part of me thinks that it's not really a question that necessarily needs to be asked, because the rabbis of the midrash would have been very well aware that this is a question you could ask, but they are teaching us a lesson about just looking at what happened, what maybe went wrong. Why God put them in that position is a different question. But what went wrong by the first set of Luchot, that they got smashed, and what went right by the second set, that it stayed pristine? And I'd like to suggest the following in terms of the interpretation of this midrash. The idea of ayin hara, overtaking the Luchot, is in essence here that this is what people became. This is the type of experience that the Jewish people started to attribute to spirituality, to God, to what it is to live a Torah life. It's a big, it's a light show. It's amazing. It's inspiring. It's moving to the point where they're like, we can't take it. It's too much. Moshe, you do this by yourself. Initially, that's what they said at some point. And this caused them to have a certain viewpoint of Torah. And what is that experience of Torah? And what kind of an experience am I looking for? I'm looking for the big, majestic moments. And you know what happened when Moshe Rabbeinu disappeared for 40 days? Maybe they miscounted, it says, the Midrash. What happened was they were devoid of spirituality, because they thought that all of spirituality, all of Judaism, all of what it means to follow in God's ways and in his Torah didn't happen. Where was that? What happened to the first day? We want things like that. Whoa, what happened? And since that was not an experience that could be duplicated, they tried to find something else, like a golden calf, that would be majestic, fascinating to them, moving to them. And they created it. What went wrong? They thought that spirituality was defined by those moments that they had that day when the Torah was given to them, when the first set of Luchot was given. And that's not a sustainable model for spirituality or for living the Torah life. Most of our lives in general, forget Torah life, most of our lives are not lived in big moments. Certainly we all have big moments and moments that move us and touch us and change us, but those are few and far between for most people. The majority of life is quiet. It's lived with tzniut, with modesty. And the second set of Luchot represent that. God said to Moshe, this is a better way. I'll give it to you quietly. I'll teach it to you quietly. And you'll go and tell the people how to live a life. that is filled with meaning and spirituality, even when life is quiet, even when there is no smoke, there is no lightning, and there is no thunder. And this is why the second set of Luchot were the ones that sustained. They were not smashed. And I think that the lesson for us is that if we want our spiritual lives to be successful, we cannot go around expecting that it's going to be Har Sinai every day. That's the only moments in our lives that are going to feel like we are connected. We have to try to find connection and meaning in the day-to-day of our lives. To find in small ways, whether that means for a certain person that's a little bit of Torah study, it's a little bit of doing this mitzvah, a little bit of doing that, or where you're showing care for your community, whatever it is. We need to try to find spirituality b'tzniut, with humility and with quietness. And if we do that, Be'ezrat Hashem, we will sustain, just like the second set of Luchot that never got smashed. We too will have an experience that is everlasting and meaningful. Have a great week, everybody.